So good morning, everyone. So as Sir told, this is a kind of different topic. We are not dealing with the clinical topic. We are dealing with the clinical leadership. I will go through this. Today's agenda we'll go through the recent evidence about importance of healthcare management. Then why clinical leadership is important. Then what are the skills and attributes of a clinical leader, leadership style, and how I can become a clinical leader. See, basically, I want to put a disclaimer that I'm not here to teach. I'm not here to teach how we can become a clinical leader, rather the importance which will enable us to become a clinical leader. That is one more thing. And another thing is, see, we are not ready to work under a non-clinician. At the same time, doctors are not ready to take up a management position. So there is a definite need gap that we are not able to take up management position. At the same time, we are not ready to work under a non-clinical person. If you look at the recent evidence about healthcare management, see, there are two important traits which will help us to become a highly successful clinician. What are the two important traits? One is soft skills. This is nothing but at the initial stage of our career, how we can attract our patients, how we can build those skills which will help us to bring those patients, that effective doctor-patient communication skills. The next one is research skills. Whatever said and done, this is one important topic where we have to ensure that some amount of time is being dedicated to the research, that is basic research, to continue to learn and teach simultaneously. So these are the two traits which will help any clinician to become a highly successful. We cannot ignore this one. Even though we might be busy with our clinical practice, somewhere we have to dedicate some amount of time depending on how interest or how you can want to pursue that research part in your day-to-day life. Second, I'll just go through one of the important paper which was telling in 2015. It was published. What it says: there is a leadership crisis of medical professions in India, and what is the ongoing impact. See, what it says is, by 2030, if you look at India, will have 1 million additional MBBS doctors who are currently produced. It might be almost 1 lakh per year, who would remain dysfunctional and do not have any work in a country of 1.3 billion population. I'll just give an example. See, plus two, everybody is studying the engineering background and medical background as well, and they are coming into the MBBS. Whoever is taking the life science background, and if you look at, we are completing 5 to 6 years of curriculum for an MBBS degree. And if you look at our counterparts, the engineering folks, they are also spending close to 4 years. But if you look at after 4 years of their completion, the kind of job opportunities they are getting, and if you question ourselves, the MBBS folks are not getting that much opportunity. We have to complete our MBBS, then MD, then super specialty, then somewhere the job opportunity might be there. So what happens to those MBBS folks? Someone should, concentrate on that part as well. That what is a need gap? Can we include something in the curriculum which is already highly hectic curriculum? So something has to be done where these folks are also getting the equal opportunities. You understood? The engineering folks are getting a highly paid salaries after completing their 4 years of degree, but MBBS folks are not able to get it. So someone has to think about that aspects as well, where these, the persons who are just completing their MBBS not able to get into the super specialty as well. So that is one thing. And what is the leadership gap? Why there is a gap in that, especially in the clinical setup? If you look at, these are the things. A physician always worries. Our main job is to treat patients. That is what our worry is. Responsibilities to provide patient care will be affected if she or he indulges in the administrative commitments. Right? Most healthcare organizations rewarded and recognized individual accomplishments rather than joint success. Always it's an individual accomplishment which is being treated, not a team success is being rewarded. Most physicians value autonomy. Somebody dictates you that no one likes. We want to, pursue our career and treat the patients in certain way which you like. And we always view that there is a threat to our independence. Finally, allocating time for that administration part or some other leadership training, all these things already in a tight curriculum is always a challenging. So there is a need gap that has to be addressed. At the same time, we have to understand these are certain things always there is there in the clinician mind. Anyone knows who he is? He's a famous surgeon. I'm just taking that example for a reason. The reason is, see, in US, Amazon, some 3 entities, big entities, because the healthcare cost is very high, they wanted to have certain kind of healthcare setup where they will take care of. Imagine a 1 million health force is there, working. So they wanted to reduce the cost and look forward for something which will reduce the healthcare burden. At the same time, it will be profitable for the company, and then you want to increase that one. So to develop a new kind of healthcare ecosystem, they were looking for a guy. So they choose him. The reason is he was always critical of the healthcare system happening in the US. He's Dr. Atul. He was always critical, whenever there is a thing. At the same time, he was publishing, this is how the healthcare reform should be, this is how the healthcare setup should be, all these things. So what happened is, if you look at recent trends for the last 5 to 10 years, doctors are being, taken into these kind of roles. The healthcare, like any corporate hospital, is now being slowly managed by, they understood the importance of doctors being managing the doctors, right? So that is where these things came up, and these people, even the Amazon, all these people, they wanted to hire someone who is a clinician and then has these kind of skills. They didn't. They could have easily gone to a Harvard Medical School or some medical school and bring a guy who will bring those changes, but they didn't, because it's very difficult to manage doctors who is a non-clinician. So this is where he got it. But unfortunately, even though the entity was there, because of COVID, things didn't turn up, and he was also not able to pull off the way things were. But somewhere, even though he's a successful clinician and he's still into practice, and there are a lot of other things he's doing, but somewhere that entity didn't take up. But the reason crux was that what I'm telling is, they choose a clinician to lead the healthcare setup. Second, he's anyone recognizes? He's Dr. Vaz Narasimhan. He is the CEO of Novartis. See, again, understand, a pharma company should always be led by a healthcare profession. That's where the things will move in a positive direction. So he was a pediatrician. The way he managed the vaccine division, which has given him the tag for a CEO. He was, almost 40 years only. At that 40, he became the CEO of one of the, top listed company. So it's not that we cannot be successful. These are certain things which will help us to understand that there is a role, and someone has to take up that role, and it has to be from a clinician background only. So why it is the clinical leadership? What is the importance of this one? See, there are a lot of healthcare expenses. All these things are, there is a lot of changes happening in the healthcare system as well. Somebody has to understand that what are the changes and how we can cope up those changes and how we can bring those changes which will be helpful. So there is a lot of struggling in the escalation of costs and services, and there is a role of doctors to be needed, especially in the big decision making. Imagine a health ministry is there. The kind of changes a clinician will bring is entirely different from a non-clinician person, right? Definitely, there are certain things which will help us to get those making decisions as well. What is the difference between a clinical leadership and medical management? Anyone can manage a medical setup, but leadership is entirely different ballgame, where there is a clear advocacy of patient interest. Definitely, the patient interest will be core whatever decision you take, because end of the day, you are trying to treat the patients in a positive way. So that is there is a clear difference between a clinical leadership and a medical management. And there is a vision which will help in the healthcare services apart from the management. You wanted to develop certain vision which will develop the healthcare services. And to be defined as a clinical leader, this is very important, that who remain in practice. No one appreciates a person who is dictating you without being in a practice. So it will be always a person who is still in a practice. Maybe his practice is the 10% of what he is doing at 20%, but he is still in practice, because that's where the respect comes from the doctors. If he doesn't practice, maybe you won't be respecting the person in the way you should be. So to be defined as a clinical leader who remain in practice were perceived as more credible, requires greater empowerment and confidence as well. Once we have these things, that is where we will give a difference in the clinical leadership. Then what are the skills and attributes of a clinical leader? Once we understand there is an importance, what are the skills which will be required, which will help us to bring into the clinical leadership position? See, what are the competence needed? If you look at, these are the certain things, I will just drop down this. Again, I have taken from one of the publications which has clearly shown. See, innovativeness, credibility, knowledge of healthcare system, problem solving ability, risk tolerance, and always there is an emotional intelligence also involved. So these are certain skills. If you think I have these ones or I can acquire these ones, there is always chance that we can start from these things. So these are very important skills which definitely the competencies are needed, but you have to understand that am I having these skills which will take me to the next level. Next, there are other skills as well which are required. You are growing in life, somebody is there to pull you down. The system, the society, anything. So we have to acquire these political skills as well, which are very, very important. In that one, the main important one is the ability to build consensus among the medical colleagues. Unless you build this consensus, we cannot get it because it's not a individual, effort. It has to be a team environment effort. Negotiation skills, this is another important. I was in one of the workshop where the whole day they were teaching the negotiation skills only. It is like whenever the crux of that workshop was, if you are in a hurry and you want to close the deal, you always tell that I don't have time. And if you don't want to close the deal, you always buy time. So if you are not ready, you are unsure that I cannot go ahead with that one, you always tell, I might require some more time. But if you want to close that deal, you have to always pretend that I am very busy, something or that sort, so that the other person falls into the trap. So that was the crux. But it is all very important because somewhere, even today's, if you look at our day-to-day patient interaction as well, there's always negotiations happening, especially in the corporate hospital, because there's a cost involved and you have to convince that patient. It is influential skills. This is also another important. Once you got those things, then only things will move in a positive direction. The other things, these are the non-negotiable assets. If you look at empathy, always, as long as we are a clinician, empathy will be there throughout their career. I was there in one of the lecture of IIM Ahmedabad, where they were developing a leadership workshop for 4 days. In that, empathy has been taught by a pediatrician who is a faculty now in an IIM Ahmedabad. See, even empathy cannot be taught by someone else who is not a clinician, because clinician and empathy go side by side. The way he taught empathy was entirely a different ballgame. So he took us to a blind school and he made us, be blind for almost 4 hours and then understand day-to-day life of how a blind person interacts. So the empathy, the terminology changed once we entered that, blind school. Honesty. So there is no workshop which will happen for honesty, but everyone appreciates honesty. So definitely that's why these are all non-negotiable assets. Integrity and accountability. So these three, if you look at, definitely these days, these are all appreciated: honesty, integrity, and accountability. Once you pursue, I want to become something a higher position. So these are some of the things which are non-negotiable assets. Next is, what are the different leadership styles? So you might have certain skills, but there will be certain leadership styles. There will be a lot of workshops which will be happening, but I'm just taking 2 of them, which is one is blank Norton grid model. So again, this has its own advantages and disadvantages, but the main thing is, if you look at these days, there are 2 things. Especially if you look at a corporate hospital, there's a concern for the results and a concern for the people. If you are only concerned for the people, even though there's a charity hospital, it requires money, right? If you are only concerned for the people, in the long run, that may not be appreciated. If you are only concerned for the results, again, today you might be successful, you are making money, but tomorrow what? So you should have equal concern for the people, at the same time equal concern for the results. That is nothing but a team environment, which is a highly satisfaction. So you cannot compromise. At the same time, you have to balance it out. Sometimes you have to focus more on the results. Sometimes you have to focus more on the people. But if you can balance it out, that comes with a team environment. That's a Blake Mount Grid model, which will clearly say we have to have a high importance for the concern for the people, and at the same time, we have to have a high importance for the concern for the results as well. Second leadership style, I will just take you through. This is, some of you might have heard, there's a Hershey blanket model, which says the situation might be different. You might be in certain different kind of situations. So you cannot have one leadership style which will be, for everything. Actually, I attended this is a 2 days workshop as well, just for advanced leadership styles. But again, I will just tell the crux as well. So the main thing is, like, whichever situation you are there, these are 4 different boxes. Imagine you have leading a team which is not at all skilled, not at all motivated. What you do? You direct them. Imagine your team is highly skilled and highly motivated. You just delegate them. Your team is not skilled. You coach them. Your team is not motivated. You support them. So depending on understanding your team, then you try to use the leadership styles. And this is a very beautiful model because things might change. That's why I told in the beginning, it's very difficult to manage a doctors. I'll just give my example as well. 3 years back, just before my promotion, we are all different. I am from a PhD background. My friends are all from MD pharmacology. It's very difficult to tell them what to do. because they think I am also knowledgeable. You cannot dictate me what I should be doing. So always it was very difficult for a manager to deal with those kind of people. So you have to give some empowerment and then try to understand. So you have to see which category this person is or that team is. Depending on that, you try to module your way. If he is highly skilled and highly motivated, there is nothing you can do. You just direct them. This is what the task is. He will always be able to do. If your team is not at all skilled, not at all motivated, then you have to ensure that something or the others you have to do it. So these are again very beautiful workshop where depending on the situation, depending on the environment, things always change. Again, there is another example in this workshop only I got it, where one this was a scientist. He was giving a talk for the scientist. In that one scientist told, I'm happy with what I'm doing. I don't want to get into the management position because I'm happy with my research and all these things. Then the coach told that after 10 years your juniors might pick up the position and you will be working under your juniors. Is that okay for you? Then he told, yes, I'm fine with that. So if you are already made up your mind that this is what my thing is, so that is what happens. Then you think that no, I should not be. Then you have to work in certain ways which will help you to grow in your life. Second, when understand all these things, then how I can become a clinical leader. Again, there are a lot of publications happening, but I will just take up the barriers of a clinical leadership. Right? Always, if you look at this, the seniority and the senior person will only become. So definitely, there is nothing scope. So you'll think that after 20 years only I can get into that position. So you already lost the hope. So seniority should not be the sole criteria, and it always should be a transparent process. And then our own perception within our grade that, as I told, I cannot become, so definitely there is nothing that you can be doing. But if you think that there is a scope, I can become after 5 years and 10 years, then you plan for that category as well. And this is, I have taken from New England Journal of Medicine in 2017, what it says, 3 starting points for a physician leadership. Where exactly I can start? See, somebody wants to think there is a starting point, right? What is it? As I told in the beginning, most hospitals and healthcare providers are not originally structured as physician-led, who recently valued doctors as leaders. From until 2000 also, there were a lot of hospitals, especially all these corporate hospitals before COVID, Fortis Max, any Indian corporate hospitals, they were slightly struggling in terms of costs. Even in fact, Fortis was, I just give an example, it's not like I wanted to tell, but Fortis was the one who was, especially if you look at, there were a lot of articles as well in the newspaper where they were telling something is not going right in the Fortis and they wanted to sell off or all these things between their own family. So Fortis was really struggling. Thanks to COVID, all these people made a lot of money and they came into the positive bracket. And if you look at last 3-4 years, a lot of stakeholders are changing, lot of acquiring happening, right? Lot of foreign companies are investing money in the healthcare sector because the kind of money they saw, especially in the COVID, so they are trying to invest. But somewhere or the other, if you look at next 10 years, lot of money will be pumping into the healthcare sector because it's a profitable sector and India is growing in the healthcare sector in a very different way. But somewhere or the other, if this same healthcare setup is being managed by doctors and equal importance to the people and results are being, the things will be different. But imagine someone else is, directing you in a corporate hospital, do this, do that, and we will feel awkward. But at the same time, we have to take up those positions. That is what it is. So what are the 3 issues? There should be authority with responsibility. You cannot have authority and there is no responsibility. Then always you feel bad, okay, I am having this much authority, but there is no responsibility. Balance of role. As I told, there should be a balance of role between your clinical career at the same time administration as well. So that will help us to empower ourselves. And acceptance by physicians of the need for leadership. If you think I don't need somebody to tell me, then there is no need. If you think there is a need, somebody else should also be telling me there is a need. So it's a very beautiful journal which clearly says what are the 3 starting points, and these are the 3 starting points: authority with responsibility, balance of roles, at the same time acceptance by physicians of a need for leadership. And there is another, I have taken from British Medical Journal in 2006, where it says steps to develop a spectacular leadership skills, like where to start and then how to develop ourselves. See, this is very important. First, you have to lead yourself, especially whatever you do in day-to-day life. If you lead as an example, that will help us. Monitor whatever you are doing. monitor your self-talk, understand your values. That is, understand your core strength and then showcase those strengths. Whatever weakness, you can work on your weaknesses. Improve your understanding. Because you are leading a team, you have to always ensure that your understanding of others is also there. Practice listening your team, ask them powerful questions and find out what is really important and then develop a vision together. That is what it is. See, whatever you do day to day life, you have to ensure that sometimes you might be critical, but this is where you lead an example that will help you to grow yourself. So work on your showcase your positive skills, work on your weaknesses, and then develop vision together. There is a lot of publications happening. Dr. Kamal Gulati from AIMS, if you look at, there are 3-4 publications on soft skills to leadership skills. He always emphasizes there is still a need gap happening in India, but still someone has to work. Even though your curriculum is so tight, is there a training required? Maybe yes or no. In that publications, he has done a research as well, where he has taken doctors for a 2-day workshop. In that publication, they have taken doctors for a 2-day leadership workshop, and then try to understand how things will improve after 2 days. So the thought process might, but it's a long way. They found out almost 30 to 40% was a positive that these kind of workshops are important. But end of the day, we wanted to understand is it important or not, and is it required, is it beneficial. So it's a still 50-50 that is these kind of workshops are important or not. And if you look at in an ISB, Indian School of Business in Hyderabad, there's a leadership training happening. I think Boston one company is doing, and a lot of other modules are doing. If you look at that faculty members teaching that one, most of them are doctors who are coming up and taking. There might be other, but there are certain doctors who are coming in and teaching that curriculum. So understand somewhere it is gap is there, but still it is evolving. So we have to get something or the other in that perspective as well. So I'll just take a key takeaways. See, at the end of the day, what are the 5 important skills for a clinical leader? If you look at, first thing is vision. Unless you have a vision, you cannot work towards your vision, right? So you should definitely think of something which will help us dramatically change the kind of healthcare system which is happening. Second is team player. These days, multi-specialty is being successful, but a uni-specialty hospital is not successful. So definitely you have to be a team player, and you should have that networking skills. You should bring those players together and then try to set up. Maybe 10 years back or 15 years back, a single specialty unit has been successful, but now it's all multi-specialty. Today or tomorrow, only multi-specialty hospitals will be successful. We cannot have a one specialty because a patient doesn't have time. As we are moving from a maybe almost 80s, it was doctor-centric approach. Doctor used to say, patient used to listen. But from 2000 onwards, in fact, now it's a customer-centric approach, where customer satisfaction plays a very, very vital role in our career. And these patients, that the kind of demand is completely different. So that's where the multi-specialty hospitals are becoming successful. And this is another important trait. See, humility is something, there is no workshop for humility, but at the same time, humility is being appreciated by everyone. So this trait is the one which will help us to grow in our life. And as doctors, I have seen one newspaper article where they were saying the AIMS hospital from Patna, I think, they were doing workshops every Sunday going or kind of thing. So this giving back to society is also important, because we wanted to ensure that these are the, society always appreciates us. So this is another thing. And it's like always, somewhere or the other, you have to believe in yourself, because it's not easy, it's not difficult. So whenever you fail, there is always a thing to get it. So this is something, even though it's a difficult topic, at the same time, I just wanted to ensure that these are the important things. See, I'll just give my example as well. I came from England. I did my PhD in England. I worked for 2 years as a senior scientist. In Chandigarh, I was working. So what happens is, in that R&D center, always these MBA folks, the marketing folks, used to come with a project and tell, this is the timeline, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and this is the project. If it becomes successful, they say, hum log kiya hai. If it is a failure, scientist ko utna pata nahi. This team doesn't know much thing. I have bring a project. So there was always a friction happening. So they bring a project, they don't know anything about that thing, and they tell those scientific team that this is a project, this is a timeline. And if we do it, they tell we have got it. If we don't, so that's where always. So I wanted to come out of that scientific environment and then try to get into the marketing thing. So that's where I got this Abbott opportunity. But there will be always a friction happening between these things. So, but again, it is important that somewhere or the other down the line, as I'm been telling, so things are changing. Lot of you know kind of changes are happening. But somewhere we have to balance the role of leadership and our clinical career, and then try to take up these administration positions as well. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Tomorrow, if one of these young people want to become the CEO of a specialty hospital, is it enough that they have MBBS, MS, and MCH, or you suggest that they should go for a degree in administration like MBA or MHA or something?
Sir, personally, I have done because, as I told, from my scientific background, as these people were dictating me, so I did an MBA from IIM Calcutta. Then I felt more confident, even though it might not be there, but the kind of curriculum it undergoes, so you'll be always empowered. It's a marketing simple, it's a management thing. Even that negotiation skills, as I was telling, the whole day workshop tells you, empowers you in those kind of. That will always be helpful. So you have to dedicate some time for the management. My Abbott company has given me opportunity to attend 4-day workshop in IIM Ahmedabad. Again, because there are a lot of examples being taught. Because once you come into this position of a management, it's not easy. It's kind of very difficult to lead a team. Then you should not be going back. So it's always may not be a whole year, but try to get learning some kind of this management skills because and to be honest, management means IIMs because the kind of teaching they have is entirely different.
Between MBA and MHA, because MHA courses are offered by medical institutions, whereas MBA is by management institutions.
MHA, I think they more deal with the day-to-day administration part, right, sir, if I'm not wrong, because even ISB, they do a MBA of healthcare management. But imagine leading a doctors, you are leading a team of doctors, that's the slightly above that one. So for that, you need to attend these short courses as well. As I told sir, that blanket model, it's a 2-day workshop completely on focusing on leadership. There are a lot of examples being taught. So in this, you will slowly understand that yes, these are certain things which you can help us. Maybe you cannot have a because you might not have time as well. So short workshop, if you keep on attending them, then you will realize how things are and how can I sort out this problem. But definitely, these are all good things to have. But as depends on how much time you can
Suppose tomorrow Dr. Pratap Reddy opens another unit and he has to select the CEO, who he will select, an MCH person or a DM person or an MBA person?
So that, to be honest, it's difficult to answer. But
suppose Abbott has to select a senior position related, although you are not into instruments and equipment. Suppose Ethicon has to select somebody who is going to lead the laparoscopic instrument division. They will select a surgeon or they will select a...
So to be honest, now they are only selecting the MBA guys because it's a money involved. Because there's a lot of, even if I look at my Abbott company, most of the CEOs are somebody from an MBA background and who are more into finance. Finance people enter into that. The moment finance people enter, they don't care about anything, it's only cost. And there is nothing much you can argue with the finance guy. Imagine Abbott we are having, first 6 months we are not into profit, finance takes over. And he will dictate you what to do. There is nothing much you can do. And if I took my team, we get budget for a whole year, but we get in short. So I was always critical. I cannot have a short budget. I cannot see if I have to do a program. I need budget. I cannot have it only in January to February. So I was always vocal. Somebody doesn't like, but that doesn't mean कि आप नहीं बोलना चाहिए. So I was always vocal. So this year I got a whole year budget. Last 3 years I was getting part, but this year in the beginning only I told you cannot have a small budget because you have to do a whole year program. I cannot just have relations for the first 3 months and I do not have any relation. So I was clearly vocal. So it depends on how you argue with your bosses.
Two corrections.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
If you see in India,
yes, sir.
Since 1947,
right.
Since the medical colleges have been started, yes, all the administration was being done by doctors.
Yes.
I never remember any principal being a non-medical person.
Right.
I never remember administration being be dictated by a secretary
Right, right, sir.
for all these years
Yes, sir.
till 2010 and 2011
Right,
when
right,
the
sir.
sentiment started.
Right, right, sir.
This is the time when the corporates have started coming into the picture.
Right, right, sir.
Right? This is the time of demand. Change over, maybe from 2007 to 2011.
Right, right.
This is the time when actually the money has taken rollover
Right, right, sir.
over the finance has taken a grip
Right, right.
over the patient management.
Right, right.
Now the money management is more important than the patient management.
Right, right, sir.
So for a patient management and the administration,
Yes.
a doctor is equally well trained.
Right, right, sir.
But for a money management, doctor is not well trained.
Yes, sir.
For the money management of an institution or a hospital, you need a financial manager.
Right, right, sir.
This financial manager
Yes, sir.
is very rarely a doctor.
Right, sir.
This has been realized by all corporates.
Yes, sir.
Now, after this,
Yes.
you see no hospital, no corporate
Yes.
has a manager as a doctor.
Right, right, sir.
Even if you go at Vedanta Hospital, which is owned by a doctor,
Yes,
the
sir.
chief CEO is still a non-doctor person.
Yes, sir.
And this chief CEO works under the financial advisor.
Yes, sir.
He does not have any power to take a decision without a financial advisor.
Right, right, sir.
If you see 100% hospitals which are working in the country,
Yes, sir.
no manager can take a decision without a financial advisor.
Yes, yes, sir.
Because now it is not patient centric, nor it is the development of the hospital,
Yes, sir.
nor it is instrument centric, nor it is the beauty of the hospital, nor it is the cleanliness of the hospital. It is all financial centric.
Yes, sir.
If you make money, we will make good roads.
Right, sir.
If you make money, we will give you good instruments.
Yes, sir.
You make money, we will get you robo.
Yes.
You make money, we will give you laparoscope. You make money, we will give you Abbott drugs.
Yes, sir.
Your company, you will come and ask if you write
Yes, sir.
my medicine, I will do a CMO.
Yes, sir. True, sir. True,
So
sir.
it is all now fine. It has nothing to do with. So now
Yes, sir.
that is the reason now the management has all this. This management has come into the hands of a non-doctor people.
Yes, sir.
And they are forcing the doctors to do what they want.
Yes.
You want doctors to learn this. So what Kapoor has asked
Yes,
is
sir.
a very valid point.
Right,
A
sir.
person who has done an MBBS,
Yes, sir.
should we do MD?
Yes, sir.
Should we do MBA?
Yes.
Which is a better career now? To be now after doing, I have completed my MCH. It takes for all of these boys, they have spent their 10, 12 years.
Yes, sir.
And after doing MCH, they get a good salary, maybe something around say, 5 lakh mil gaya, 4 lakh mil gaya, 3 lakh mil gaya.
Yes, sir.
But they will be under a person who has done a financial.
Yes, sir. True, sir.
They will not be under an MBA.
Right, right, sir.
That MBA person will be under a financial counselor.
Yes, sir.
Nobody can be above that financial person now.
Yes, sir.
Even in US, nobody, even the Biden cannot work above a financial advisor.
Yes, sir. True, sir.
So the only one person who is governing the world today is the financial advisor.
Yes, sir. True, sir.
Only one person. There is no second person.
Right, sir.
No second person can dictate.
Right.
Because everything you need to get, the water which comes into the hospital is paid.
He's also MBA finance, no?
Also,
The finance advisor. What is his qualification?
so now there in financial advisors you have now the multiple degrees. You can do finances as your primary degree. You need to say the chartered accountants. They can do their finances, financial degrees. You can do an MBA, that is the MBA degree with a financial counseling, which includes finances at a very broad spectrum. You can do MHA and a financial degree, which is now third spectrum. You can do a specialization and a financial degree, which is so that is a very varied spectrum now. More varied spectrum you get a higher position. Nirmala Sitaraman gets the advisory from the people who are at a financial counselor for the country. So they will decide जो उनका जो medical की जो budget बनेगा, that decides हमारे पास आयुष्मान के क्या rates होंगे.
Yes, sir.
हम में से कोई नहीं कर सकता. इसका मतलब डॉक्टर साहब को
Yes, sir.
तो क्लियर ही हो गया ना.
Right, sir.
तो फिर let the doctor do the job. And why are you bothering about all this? भाई हम वो काम ये तो हमने पढ़ लिया ना.
Right.
हमने सीखा है. भाई एम्पिसिलिन इज बेटर, पेरोक्नाम देना है, इंजेक्शन देना है. अब वो जो डिसाइड करेंगे हमारे को.
What is the reality check today? Say if we take 100 big corporate hospitals in India, how many of them will be headed by doctors?
No, sir. As sir told, the doctors are taking part in the management position, but finance is dictating everybody. That is everywhere it's the same. Even a pharma company is being because end of the day it's finance.
Percent of the
But
world
slowly-
is by finances today.
But slowly somewhere we have to think, sir, कि
I am having a project of
Yes,
a
sir.
big institution in which the management yesterday has written me a mail.
Yes.
Okay, I can't take a decision of what you are asking 1% of that.
right, sir.
In which he says, I can't even decide because my financial board will decide about this. Also, decision is only the small decision is उनके यहाँ पे जो electrical supply है, which comes from one company, and if they have to just change the electrical supply from the second company, वो दो divide कर देंगे, तो their charges will decrease significantly. तो उनका huge supply. तो they can't take a decision because financial advice that. हमें लग रहा है कि वो कम होने से फायदा होगा.
Sir, that is also true. I'll just give another example, sir. I worked under my professor in England. I was a British guy. So he was a scientist. So he has to bring funds. So what he told is, look, Raghav, I cannot keep on begging for funds. So he had created his own lab, and then he started selling research. So he was selling projects to Pfizer, he was selling projects to AstraZeneca. So he was making money, and then putting all the money in the research. So he told, this is module I found out useful because I do research, but I sell my research as well. And that the governing body of the university didn't like it because he was selling his research. He told, I sell research because I have to make money. I cannot keep on begging you. At the same time, he was donating some amount of money to the university as well. So end of the day, everything was going well, very well. But unfortunately, he was sacked because he was not listening to what people used to say in that university. But he went to the...
It's very clear.
Right.
Anything that makes money.
Yes, sir.
Anything that makes money on this earth
Right, sir.
is not Siddhantwari.
Right.
It is being taken with a black eye. आप जो फीस लेते हो ना, मेरे कंसल्टेशन फीस है,
Yes, sir.
ये किस चीज के लिए? आपने एडवाइस ही तो दी है.
Right.
They don't take it as a good perspective. वो कहते हैं आप साधु हो, आप साधु की तरह काम करो, पैसे नहीं ले सकते.
Right.
तो वो अगर रिसर्च के लिए अगर आप पैसे ले रहे हो, that is not taken as a very positive.
Right.
It does not give positive vibes.
Right.
Money does not give positive vibes.
Right.
The money gives positive vibes only to the finance.
Right.
He can take money.
Right.
A doctor is not research. Research के लिए आपको पैसा चाहिए. Research के लिए आप ICMR से grant लो. There are institutions which can take. You can't take money for research.
So
directly. आपको patient से मैं extra money I will charge for his.
Yes, sir.
For this that is unethical.
Sir, ethics, yes, sir. That's what he was telling. Ethical is one thing, but he made an industry. He sold the industry for 40 million pounds, and he put all the some part of it in the research. So he was still. I'm always positive because I'm having enough money. He was having the largest group of PhD students, and in that money only I was sponsored. But because he has money.
I was in IAC Calcutta. I was quoting this doctor a few days back.
Right.
Samir Nandi is father of JST-SS in North India.
Right, sir.
In India as well. And he has worked with him for a long
Yes,
time.
yes.
And he stood on the stage and said, now you can find research article on everything, any topic on आपको इस पे debate होनी, you can find 10 on
Right.
10 on against it.
Right.
So because everything is sold now. So to find a good article is difficult. They say, I don't think research publications are having that value now. They say administration, same thing with management. Now management, is it actually authentic management? It is. Can doctors do that?
Yes.
They are still doubtful. Hospitals are still run, medical colleges are still run by government medical college, by the principals and
Yes.
administration. Are they are failing because of hospitals doctors doing it? We don't know.
Sir.
Private hospitals, corporates doing well because of the non-medical people managing it and they have been successful? I don't know. Then the other question. So is it correct that the non-medical people should take it over? I don't know.
Yes,
But time will come that non-medical people will take it.
That is also true, sir. But somewhere we also have to see, is it like if my interest is there, can I take up that one? I understand, sir. If I am having the interest,
we all should try to take it over at some point in time. But we have to decide it not after the MCS agreement.
Maybe.
Because it will take another 5-7 years for them. Then they are doing a weapons is not useful. Then that is wastage of time of learning PD and doing a liver resection, doing a transplant. That is wastage of years. So useful years would be to learn on that direction. They should take a direction before that.
Another thing, sir, in the beginning, हम लोग paper था ना sir. MBBS graduates, even I cannot take in my team as well because the moment they come out of it after college, it's very difficult for them to teach, and then they are like into two dilemma. Shall I do my MD or shall I stay in a corporate? So, इनके ऊपर भी
more difficult because MBBS pass out are actually not doctors.
Right. That. So I cannot say that.
Doctor is a person who has done his clinical practice becomes a doctor after MD. After MCH, I'm telling my example.
Right,
when I came out from SJBJ, when I was coming to MCH, I used to go home once in a week. That is like a resident.
Yes.
After एक दिन Saturday or Sunday को घर जाते थे because that was my mindset. So I was not a consultant. I was not a clinical practitioner. So that was not a mindset of a clinical practitioner. That came after a few years, after 5, 6, 7 years. 7 को समझ में आ रहा है clinical practice क्या होती है. That is the person who has to actually come into administration now.
Right, sir.
वो जिसको आप कह रहे हो ना, doctors who should become administrators.
Yes.
He is the person. By that time, he has already spent most of his time.
That is also true, sir. Because yes, 2 days before I got a call from AIMS Batinda, sir, Dr. Niket. He was telling मेरे पास 3-4 मेरे cousins है MBBS के and they didn't do MD. So now they are into dilemma. What should be they doing? Should we look for a corporate hospital or आपका जो pharma है? How is it? He was just asking me, can you guide them? I told I will tell the challenges what happens in a pharma company and if he is interested, we can pick them up. Because उनको लगता है कि इधर अच्छा है, but इधर आने का दादी उधर ही अच्छा था. So we should always understand what is good, what is bad, what is.
Pharma में option है?
हाँ नहीं सर, pharma में is anytime you have an option because I feel pharma should have because slowly it is coming up sir. इससे पहले नहीं था. Now जो भी MD pharmacology के they are slowly moving to marketing, and from marketing they will head the team, and then slowly they will take over. But it will take time. But people have realized कि see even I sir, I am from a scientific background. Now I am leading in medical. I wanted to get into marketing. Today or tomorrow if I get a chance, but marketing folks will not allow you to, enter. That is it.
Discuss on marketing. Marketing had picked up 20 years back, huge team worldwide.
Yes.
Marketing has gone to boom.
Right.
And then it has collapsed in last 2 years back. It has collapsed massively because it is all online now.
Right. True, sir.
Now there is no value of a person doing a marketing. A person doing marketing has no role now.
Right.
Now there is a new world of marketing which has developed. So it is, and after AI, so all change. Because I can replicate Dr. Kapoor speaking for me or something. Dr. Ajay is the best person, best surgeon on this earth, and he can speak for me, and so I don't need anybody else to do marketing for me now. Dr. Kapoor will do that marketing after that AI coming into it. So the world is changing. So I think marketing is a different gimmick now.
Right.
There is more of playing with it. But administration definitely it is. I don't know how much it is still a role of doctors and how much it is still a role of medical people.
But even yet talk and sir, actually it should be taught by somebody like you or someone because these are highly paid talks. अगर आप definitely sir, because we wanted to get a forum where we can do. Even Dr. Usha Datta madam was asking, can we have a leadership kind of session? आप और मैं बोलने से अच्छा नहीं रहता. So we are finding difficult for somebody to come up. If you look at Dr. Nageshwar Reddy sir, he gives a talk in ISB. So I take his as an example.
Human resource management. See, when we are taught medicine, we are told to be kind to everyone.
Right.
We are not supposed to be harsh to anyone,
yes.
Even if he is misbehaving with us, even if he is not good. Yes. So once you occupy a senior position, you have to handle people.
Right.
How do you think it is a disadvantage to be a doctor when you are handling people? Because inherently, you don't want to harm anybody, whereas in a senior position, you may have to take punitive action against somebody who's not performing well or who's done something wrong.
So it's on. My personal experience is it's until entirely up to you, sir. Because once I became a manager in medical team in Abbott, nobody was sacking
You
me.
have been taught to be a doctor. Now you become a manager. You can't change your mindset because as a doctor,
It's,
first thing is कि हर एक को अच्छे से वो करना.
हाँ sir, वही मैं example दे रहा हूँ
It
sir.
becomes very difficult.
Once I became a manager, I have to sack two people because they were not at all working. And both were female employees, and it's very difficult, especially in MNCs. Female employees are being treated. Even my colleague is female. We treat, they got all the facilities. But end of the day, they have to understand the way you sack is different. So I told them, you are highly talented in this, you are whatever thing. But you try to find something else. If you get it, I will be the first person to recommend. आपका ये जो whatever you are doing, this might not fit you. So they listened to my words. They got another role, but unfortunately, उधर से उनको निकाल दिया गया. That is secondary. But there is a way to say. जैसे आप बोलते हो.
Why I am asking this is because majority of the
There was a presentation on this that doctors as leaders what you are saying and MBAs as leaders.
Right.
Doctors as leaders in last 30-40 years they have proven as rulers. Doctors don't become leaders; they become rulers, and they become the MBA because they become leaders because they will kill you silently. They will teach you, they will take all the trials. Doctors, they want to do, somehow they are autocratic. उसके अंदर फिर they came the grading. उसके अंदर the surgeons are the most autocratic. उसके अंदर फिर they came the grading के अंदर the least autocratic were PSM people. उसके अंदर so therefore they wanted PSM people to come into the administration. This was around 2099. That they wanted all the PSM people to take up the positions of the administration. Then PSM people were more into the peripheral works. So they can't come into this position and do the peripheral work. So that is how it has all come up. So but the problem is that the doctors become very highly autocratic and they become rural-like. They want to rule the people under them. That is actually a problem with everywhere, not only at one place, all the doctors. And MBA it is being told that जो MBA वाला जो head होगा ना, he will come and he will come under the same platform. He will work at the same platform, and then he has to go into the depth and then manage the things. That is their training part.
हाँ सर, बट वो भी चेंज हो रहा है सर. Because I was there in IMO मतलब वो बोल रहे थे कि 20 साल पहले we were very harsh, but because the audience is changing, we became slightly different. But otherwise, उनको बोल रहे थे there is timing and all this. Is also even I was trained with the HR, so it will always give a positive vibes to do this theoretical part of. But thanks, it was a good debate. Thank you.